The fork hit Judith's china plate with a bright click. Nobody moved. Roast beef cooled beneath the chandelier. From the living room, the evening news murmured under the hum of the air conditioner. I smelled rosemary, red wine, and lemon polish. Judith leaned back and smiled, as if she had delivered a harmless joke. "Do not make yourself sound important," Judith said. "You are only a desk jockey." Ryan covered a laugh with his napkin. Across from me, Michael lowered his eyes to his plate. His thumb rubbed the edge of his wedding ring, then stopped. He did not look at his mother. He did not look at me. The old burn along my ribs tightened beneath my blouse. I placed my fork beside the plate, carefully. My fingers wanted to curl, but I kept them flat against the tablecloth. Judith lifted her wine glass. "There is nothing wrong with office work, Samantha. Someone has to answer phones while real soldiers handle danger." Ryan chuckled. Michael cleared his throat. "Mom." "What?" Judith asked. "We are family. We can be honest." Honest. The word settled between us like ash. My purse rested against my chair. Inside, a scorched command coin pressed against the leather. I reached down and touched its rough edge through the fabric. For one breath, the dining room disappeared. Concrete dust filled my mouth. Warning lights flashed through smoke. A voice broke across my headset beneath static. "Ma'am, we are still here." Then the room returned. "Judith sliced beef. You disappear for months, come home with stories you cannot discuss, and expect everyone to treat you like some war hero." "I never asked anyone to call me that," I said. Judith's smile widened. "No. You just enjoy letting people imagine it." Michael looked up. "That is enough." Relief rose too quickly, then died when he added, "Let us change the subject. Not defend me, not correct her. Just move the discomfort elsewhere." From the living room, the news anchor's voice sharpened. "Tonight, the Department of Defense has released authorized footage from Operation Night Lantern." My hand froze against my purse. A glass clinked near Ryan's elbow. Michael turned toward the television. "Night Lantern?" Judith glanced over her shoulder. Probably another recruitment piece. The anchor continued. "The operation, conducted during the evacuation of an American diplomatic facility, remained classified until portions of the mission record were cleared this week." Air stopped halfway into my lungs. I had received the notice from Public Affairs. Footage under review. Names possibly included. No broadcast date. No confirmation. Judith kept talking. "This is what I mean. They put dramatic music over people sitting in control rooms, then pretend paperwork won the war." On the television, radio traffic replaced the anchor. Static cracked through the house. A man shouted coordinates. Another voice ordered the final aircraft to prepare for departure. Then my own voice came through the speakers. "Negative. Hold that aircraft. The missing team is still transmitting." Michael stared at me. Judith's wine glass stopped halfway to her mouth. Ryan pushed his chair back for a clearer view. The anchor spoke again. "The mission commander who made that decision was Major Samantha Cole." Judith's fork slipped from her fingers. It struck the plate and fell onto the hardwood floor. No one bent to pick it up. Not even Michael moved. On the screen, smoke rolled across a command center. Red lights pulsed over overturned chairs. A woman stood at the central map with blood running from her temple. "Me." My recorded voice filled the silent house. "No one leaves until the last team comes home." 3 months earlier, Judith welcomed me home with a smile that never reached her eyes. Yellow balloons hung above the dining room arch. Someone had written "Welcome Home," Sam in blue icing across a cake. Michael stood beside me with one hand at my back, guiding me into the room as though I might break. Judith kissed the air near my cheek. "There she is," Judith said. "Our mysterious traveler." Ryan raised a beer. "Did they finally let you out of the bunker?" Several relatives laughed. My ears were still adjusting to rooms without alarms. The refrigerator motor sounded too much like a generator. Silverware against china tightened my shoulders before I could stop them. Michael noticed. His fingers pressed between my shoulder blades. Judith noticed too. "What exactly did you do over there?" Judith asked. "I worked at a forward operations center," I said. Judith tilted her head. "So, an office. A command center. Same difference." Ryan grinned. "Coffee, emails, maps." "Something like that," I said. Michael's hand disappeared from my back. Judith led everyone toward the table. You should have seen Michael while Samantha was gone. Cooking, laundry, paying bills. He practically became a single husband. The room answered with sympathetic murmurs. Michael gave a small laugh. "Mom, I was fine." "I know," Judith said. "That is the sad part." My chair scraped the floor as I sat. Beneath my blouse, Healing skin pulled tight where shrapnel had cut across my side. Judith carved the roast. No photographs? Not from the mission. Nothing? I was not permitted to take photographs in the operations area. Judith set meat on my plate. Convenient. Michael looked down. I waited for him to speak. He reached for the salt. Later, Judith told a cousin that my work involved schedules and reports. She said the military liked giving impressive titles to ordinary jobs. My spoon stopped against the frosting. A response formed behind my teeth. 17 names, 1 burning room, a signal buried under static. None of it belonged at Judith's table. Michael found me in the hallway after dinner. Please do not let her get to you, Michael said. She called me a liar in front of your family. She did not use that word. She did not need to. Michael glanced toward the dining room. You know how she is. My palm closed around the command coin inside my pocket. One edge had melted into a rough crescent. What does that mean? I asked. It means she talks too much. And I absorb it? It was 1 dinner, Sam. 1 dinner became 2, then 4. Judith told people I used classified information to make myself seem important. She asked whether a desk assignment counted as deployment. She mailed Michael a listing for a civilian administrative position and circled the salary in red ink. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday. I stood at the kitchen counter while Michael unfolded it. She thinks this might be easier for us, Michael said. For us? For the marriage. Rain tapped the window. My side ached under the elastic bandage. Michael read the listing. Regular hours. No deployments. You brought this to me seriously. I am only showing it. No. You are asking me to become smaller so your mother feels comfortable. His mouth tightened. That is not fair. Neither was silence, but he had made a home inside it. That night, after Michael fell asleep, I placed the burned coin on the dresser. The metal smelled faintly of smoke beneath my thumb. Static returned to me. Then a voice. Ma'am, we are still here. My laptop chimed. A message from Military Public Affairs appeared. Authorized footage from Operation Night Lantern was under review for public release. My name appeared beneath the notice. I closed the laptop before Michael woke. For the first time, I wondered whether the truth would arrive before my patience ran out. The signal had been weak enough to dismiss inside my damaged headset. Operation Night Lantern began as an evacuation. An American diplomatic facility was surrounded after the local government collapsed. From the forward command center, I watched icons move across digital maps while voices overlapped inside my headset. Every decision carried a name. Colonel Douglas Mercer stood behind my station. Final transport is inbound, Mercer said. Once the diplomatic staff boards, we withdraw. A communications specialist looked up. Ground Team Bravo has missed 2 check-ins. Mercer turned toward me. Last confirmed position? Eastern Service Road, I said. The map showed an empty corridor beyond the compound. Then a faint locator pulse blinked near a drainage channel. Once. Gone. Again. Hold the aircraft, I said. Mercer leaned closer. Major, hostile movement is converging from 3 directions. That pulse belongs to Bravo. It may be damaged equipment. It is moving. Another officer shook his head. Too slowly. Because they are carrying wounded personnel, I said. No one answered. A transmission cracked through my headset. Only 2 words survived. Still here. My pulse struck beneath my jaw. I enlarged the thermal feed. Heat signatures flickered beneath a concrete overpass. There, I said. 17 people. Mercer stared at the screen. Can you prove it? I overlaid the locator pattern. Give me 3 minutes. You have 2. I redirected the rescue aircraft. The pilot answered. Major Cole, that corridor is not cleared. It is the only route outside the mortar grid. If your map is wrong, we lose the aircraft. If we use the main road, you will not reach them. Silence filled the channel. Then the pilot said, copy your route. The first explosion shook dust from the ceiling. Lights flickered. Someone shouted that the western wall had taken a hit. Mercer grabbed my chair. Prepare to evacuate. Bravo is not aboard. A second blast threw me against the console. Heat tore across my ribs. My headset struck the floor. A medic knelt beside me. Major, you are bleeding. I pushed his hand away and reached for the headset. The room tilted. Warm blood ran from my temple. Major Cole, Mercer said. That is an order. Then relieve me after Bravo boards. His face hardened. The radio came alive. Rescue 1 approaching the drainage channel. I gripped the table until the map stopped moving. Gunfire rattled through the transmission. 1 team in sight. Count them, I said. 7 moving. 4 carried. That is 11. We have more beneath the overpass. The medic pressed gauze against my side. Pain burned along my ribs. Numbers came through the headset. 12, 13, 14. Another explosion darkened half the room. 15, 16. The channel went silent. My mouth tasted like copper. Rescue 1, confirm final count. Static. Mercer bent toward the microphone. Rescue 1. Respond. A voice finally broke through. 17 aboard. My knees weakened. Depart immediately, I said. Take the northern corridor and climb west of the ridge. The aircraft icon moved away from the compound. Only after it crossed the safe line did my hand release the table. The floor rose toward me. When I opened my eyes, canvas walls shifted in the hot wind of a field hospital. Mercer stood beside the cot. He placed something in my palm, my command coin. One side had turned black. Its edge had softened in the heat. They will never know what you did tonight, Mercer said. I closed my fingers around it. Those 17 will, I whispered. Mercer shook his head. Most will never know your name. Outside, helicopter blades beat against the darkness. As long as they made it home, I said. I do not need them to know. Months later, Judith would call that room an office. She would say I had been safe behind a desk. By then, the scar beneath my blouse had faded. The sound of that final count had not. Judith's next move arrived in a cream envelope. Mom found it through someone she knows, Michael said. Your mother has never asked what I want. She worries about us. No, she worries that she cannot control what she does not understand. Michael exhaled. Why does every conversation about her become a fight? Because you keep bringing her voice into our house. He looked toward the window. It is a good position. What do you think I do? I asked. Michael faced me again. You told me you manage operations. That is not an answer. His jaw tightened. I know your work matters. But do you believe it matters enough for me to keep doing it? He said nothing. Silence had always been Michael's shelter. That evening, I finally understood I had been paying the rent. 2 weeks later, Judith invited us to dinner to celebrate Michael's promotion at the engineering firm. Just family, Michael said while buttoning his shirt. Judith's version of family filled every chair. The room smelled of roast beef and Judith's floral perfume. Every place setting faced the television in the adjoining room. She had arranged the evening like a performance, with Michael at the center and me positioned where every guest could watch my reaction without turning their heads openly. Michael paused in the doorway. I did not know she invited everyone. She did, I said. That is enough to know. He touched my arm. Please, not tonight. The request was soft. Its meaning was not. Protect my mother from the consequences of what she chooses to say. Judith approached in a navy dress and kissed Michael's cheek. My successful son, Judith said. No costume tonight? I came from home, I said. Judith smiled. How refreshing. Judith used the moment to praise his patience. Michael has carried so much while Samantha comes and goes, Judith said. Yet he never complains. Michael shifted in his chair. Mom, this is about the promotion. Exactly. His stability made it possible. Judith continued. Some people build careers by being dependable. Others play soldier and expect applause for sitting in secure rooms. My heartbeat slowed. That frightened me more than anger would have. Michael watched his mother, waiting for the right moment to stop her without upsetting her. That moment would never arrive because he wanted permission from the person causing the harm. My car keys rested inside my coat pocket. If Michael stayed silent again, I would spend the night at the base lodging facility. To hear my own thoughts without Judith's voice echoing through his excuses. Judith turned toward me. What did you actually do on your last trip, Samantha? I cannot discuss operational details. There it is. Judith spread her hands toward the table. The magic answer. Judith, Michael said. She ignored him. Do not make yourself sound important, Judith said. You are only a desk jockey. Ryan released a breath that almost became a laugh, then stopped. Michael lowered his eyes. The decision settled inside me with surprising calm. I would finish dinner. Then I would leave. From the living room, the television volume rose as the evening program returned from a commercial break. A familiar burst of radio static slipped through the doorway. My fingers tightened around the napkin. The announcer spoke over images I could not yet see. Coming up next, newly released footage from a classified rescue mission reveals the officers behind one of the most dangerous evacuations of the year. Judith lifted her wine. See, she said. Now those are real soldiers. Then my voice came from the television. Hold the final aircraft. Every muscle in my back locked. Michael raised his head. Judith's smile remained in place, but her wineglass stopped before reaching her lips. I knew that recording. I knew what came after it, and for the first time since entering Judith's house, I did not reach for my car keys. The television picture steadied on a map crossed by red roots and blinking markers. Judith remained frozen with the wineglass near her mouth. Nobody spoke. The news anchor's voice carried into the dining room. Operation Night Lantern began as an emergency evacuation of American diplomatic personnel after hostile forces surrounded the compound. Footage replaced the map. Men and women moved through smoke inside the forward command center. Their faces were blurred where necessary, but mine was not. Blood ran from my temple, dust coated my hair. One hand held a headset against my ear, while the other traced a path across the display. Ryan's chair creaked. Michael whispered, "Sam." I kept my eyes on the television. A voice from the recording said, "Final transport is ready to depart." My recorded answer followed. "Negative. Hold the aircraft. Bravo is still transmitting." Judith lowered her glass. The anchor explained that a security team and several wounded personnel had been cut off east of the compound. 17 people remained behind, while hostile units closed on their position. On screen, Colonel Mercer leaned over my station. "Major Cole," Mercer said in the recording, "you have 2 minutes to confirm that signal." The room shook in the footage. Ceiling dust fell. Someone ducked as an alarm sounded. Judith's fingers tightened around the stem of her glass. The anchor continued. Major Cole identified a moving locator pulse beneath a concrete overpass. She redirected the final rescue aircraft into an uncleared corridor and coordinated its approach while the command center itself came under attack. The camera angle shifted. A blast struck somewhere beyond the western wall. Light disappeared for a second. When the picture returned, I was on one knee beside the console. A medic pressed gauze to my side. "Major, you need to evacuate," the medic said. "Not until Bravo is aboard," I answered. Michael looked at the scar near my hairline. His face changed slowly, as if every excuse he had ever made for his mother had begun collapsing at once. Judith found her voice. "She was still inside a room," Judith said. No one responded. On the television, gunfire rattled through the rescue aircraft's radio. A pilot counted the survivors as they boarded. 12. Static covered the next number. 14. My hand gripped the edge of the console. 16. Then silence. Even knowing what came next, my lungs tightened. The anchor let the pause remain. The pilot finally said, 17 aboard. My eyes closed for half a breath. The recorded version of me did not celebrate. "Depart immediately," I said. "Northern corridor. Climb west of the ridge." The aircraft marker moved beyond the danger zone. Then my knees gave way. The footage stopped on the image of 2 people catching me before I struck the floor. Colonel Mercer appeared in a studio interview. "Major Cole did not simply read data," Mercer said. "She recognized that the signal represented people others were prepared to leave behind. Her decision brought every member of that team home." The anchor faced the camera again. Military officials confirmed that Major Samantha Cole remained at her station despite injuries from the attack. Her actions are credited with saving 17 lives. Judith placed her glass on the table, but the base missed the coaster. Red wine spread across the white cloth. Ryan stared at his plate. One of Michael's relatives covered her mouth. Nobody looked at the fallen fork. Judith tried once more. "Well," Judith said, "the television knows how to make anything dramatic." The screen showed the command center after the attack. A section of wall had collapsed. Flames moved behind the broken equipment. Medics carried injured personnel through the smoke. My burned command coin appeared for less than a second near an overturned chair before someone picked it up. Judith saw it. Her gaze dropped toward my purse. The anchor read the final line of the report. Among those rescued were military personnel and American diplomatic staff who returned safely to their families. Silence filled every corner of the room. I reached for the remote and muted the television. All eyes turned toward me. Judith's mouth opened. I spoke before she could shape another excuse. "I never needed you to call me a hero," I said. "I needed you to stop calling me a fraud." Michael pushed back his chair and stood. Judith looked relieved, certain her son would end the discomfort for her. Instead, Michael faced his mother. "You will apologize to my wife," Michael said. "Right now." Judith blinked. "For what?" Michael's hands flattened against the table. "For every time you mocked her work. For every time you called her selfish. For every time you made her prove she deserved basic respect." Judith glanced around the table, searching for support. No one gave it. "If anything I said hurt your feelings, Samantha, I am sorry," Judith said. The apology landed with no weight. I folded my napkin and placed it beside my plate. "That is not an apology," I said. Judith's cheeks reddened. "I just said I was sorry. You apologized for my reaction, not for your behavior. This family cannot say anything around you anymore." "You said plenty." Judith pushed her chair back. "It was teasing." "No," I said. "Teasing ends when the other person is not laughing." Her eyes moved toward Michael. He did not look away. I continued before anger could turn my voice sharp. "You told people I invented classified work to seem important. You mailed my husband a civilian job because you believed my career should disappear for his comfort. Tonight you called me a desk jockey and said real soldiers handled danger." Judith crossed her arms. "You never explained any of this." "I was legally prohibited from explaining operational details. How was I supposed to know? You were not required to know what I survived before treating me like a human being." Ryan's breath caught. Judith looked at him, then at the other guests. "This is exactly what she does," Judith said. "She turns Michael against his family." Michael stepped away from the table. "No, Mom. I did that part myself." Judith stared at him. Michael swallowed. "Every time you insulted Sam, I asked her to ignore it. Every time you crossed a line, I tried to make her responsible for keeping the peace. I made silence feel like agreement." My throat tightened, but I kept my hands still. Michael's voice grew steadier. "You are not coming to our house until you can respect her. We will not attend dinners where she is mocked. You will not send me jobs for her, or discuss our marriage with relatives." Judith's face lost its color again. "You would cut off your own mother over one television program." "This is not about television," Michael said. "It is about what the television finally forced me to see." Ryan lifted his eyes. "I laughed," Ryan said. "I am sorry, Samantha. I knew it was cruel. Laughing was easier than stopping her." I nodded once. "Do better next time." Judith looked from one son to the other. "So everyone is against me now?" "No," I said. "You are facing the result of what you chose." "I should have done this months ago," Michael said. "Yes," I answered. The simple agreement struck harder than anger. He did not defend himself. He did not ask me to soften the truth for him. Judith gripped the hallway table as though the house itself had shifted beneath her. Michael quietly picked up my coat. We moved toward the entryway. Judith followed us, no longer loud. When I reached into my purse for my keys, the burned coin slipped into my palm. Judith stared at the blackened metal. "That was there?" Judith asked. "During the attack?" "Yes." Her voice dropped. "You carried it all this time?" I closed my fingers around the coin. "It was there while you imagined I had been sitting in a safe office." Judith opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Michael held the door. Cold air entered the hallway. I stepped outside without waiting for another apology. The drive home began in silence. Streetlights moved across the windshield and vanished behind us. Michael kept both hands on the steering wheel. His knuckles looked pale beneath the passing light. After several miles, he spoke. "I failed you." The words did not ask me to comfort him. That mattered. "You did," I said. Michael nodded. "I told myself I was preventing fights." "You were preventing consequences." "I know." Rain began to strike the windshield in small, scattered drops. Michael adjusted the wipers. "I kept asking you to understand her because asking her to change felt harder. That made me the price of your peace." His jaw tightened. "Yes." The answer hurt, but it was clean. I looked through the side window. "The news report does not fix us." "I know. What matters is what you do when there is no footage, no kernel, no room full of witnesses." Michael pulled into our driveway but did not turn off the engine. "I will find a therapist tomorrow," he said. "And I will keep the boundary with Mom, even if she cries, blames you, or calls every relative we have." I studied his face. "Do not promise me a result you have not earned. Then I will prove it." Inside the house, I placed the burned coin on the dresser. My phone rang before I could remove my coat. Colonel Mercer's name appeared on the screen. "Major Cole," Mercer said when I answered. "Public Affairs has received messages from several members of Bravo." My fingers rested on the scorched edge of the coin. "What kind of messages?" "Thank you letters. Interview requests too, but those are optional. I do not want to turn that night into a performance." "You do not owe anyone a performance," Mercer said. "You already gave the mission what it needed." After the call, Michael remained in the doorway. He did not enter until I nodded. Weeks passed. Michael began therapy and stopped answering Judith's calls when they turned into accusations. He corrected relatives who repeated her version of dinner. Then, a handwritten letter arrived. Judith did not write that she was sorry if I had been hurt. She named what she had done. She admitted that my career made her feel less important to Michael. She confessed that she had reduced leadership to uniforms, weapons, and visible danger, because accepting my authority meant accepting that she could no longer control how her son saw the world. Her final sentence asked when she could visit. I answered with 3 lines. Trust can be rebuilt. It will require consistent behavior. The timeline is not yours to choose. That evening, I placed the burned coin inside a small wooden box. Beside it lay a card from one of the people rescued during Night Lantern. Thank you for refusing to leave us behind. Michael stood at the bedroom door. This time he waited. From that night onward, he never mistook my quiet for permission, surrender, or forgiveness, ever again. When I looked up and nodded, he entered quietly and sat beside me. My mother-in-law had needed a national news report to understand that I was never just a desk jockey. I needed no television screen, no public praise, and no apology from her to know who I was.